So let me squeeze past you. So do you remember, beginning of the year, I'd looked at my stores and I had a lot of mixed jars. I didn't have enough jars of the same sort. So we started collecting these, didn't we? I think these, I put the call out, I need jars, I need jars, I need jars. Because I work nuts and bolts, I work jars. So Debbie's work, Debbie put the call out, right? Every coffee jar that goes past Debbie's work comes this way. Thank you very much. Yeah. So what you have to do is choose a tub or whatever you use fairly regular, whether you use one a week or two a week or whatever you use. And you want to use them as a container. Now I do nuts and bolts, so I keep them containers. So I'm going to be able to make shelves exactly to fit this. You know, you want about that space above, don't you? But you can only do that if you've got enough of them. And I've been steadily and carefully collecting them. Where do I see them all? Yeah, I have been. Let's start here. I've been carefully collecting. I do like the bigger coffee jars. So these are the bigger when you've got lots of. You've got lots of these. So these are the Nescafe, I think they are, brown coffee jars. And as they've come, I've just shoved them in the thing. So now it's time to sort them out. There's two sorts: the slightly bigger one and that sort. So whatever comes in, you'll make fit. These are that sort. Look, yeah, they are balanced quite finely. They are balanced quite finely. So we're going to tip them all out. That's the same as that. It's got a different coloured lid, but it's the same size. That'll do just fine. So we've already got a row in there. So we can start putting, we're going to use that cupboard for these big red ones. Yeah. Cupboard we're going to use for that. So these can go back in the cupboard. So I know this cupboard is full of just that size. Here, look. So we're all right with those. That cupboard's not quite full yet. We've got to keep going. There we are. Beginning to fill. It's a bit like, I guess, metric. Smaller ones, the slightly smaller ones in there. Most of them are that in there. In here, what have we got? Slightly mixed. We've got some in here. Slightly different size. Much the same, but slightly different. Same again. These are the smaller ones. What have we got here? Again, slightly smaller. I think we've got enough of them to do a whole shelf, to be honest with you. I have been putting some over here. Here they are. I knew I had loads of them somewhere. So let's see how many of these we can pull out. And let's see if we've got enough to be able to do a shelf. But you need a shelf full and you need some spare, don't you? Yeah. So, yeah. Let's do that. Pull these out here. Because there are a lot of odd, different shaped ones in here as well. They've got to come out and get cleaned. Got one here. So it's coming on nicely, isn't it? The collection. Make sure you pick up every one that you're given. Can you see now? We've nearly got enough. We've nearly got enough to do a whole shelf, haven't we? Ooh, is that going to stay there? That's a big one. Got this big one in here, don't we? Yeah. So you just have to work on them, sort them out, dig them out, and then, and these jars have only come in at one at a time. I've been collecting them for weeks now, weeks and weeks. Each one represents a week. Maybe some weeks we might get two. You know, they've used 1.5 or something. So, what cupboard are we going to put those in? Yeah, we've got jars here, jars there. We'll sort them out, resort these out. It's a mixed pot. It's a mixed pot. I'll show you now what I find here. So I'll turf everything out and put these in, and I know. So I'm going to be able. I've got enough to make a row of shelves that thickness on that one, and when I've got enough of the slightly smaller ones, the next shelf will be slightly lower. These are much the same size, so they'll probably stick on the same. This one a bit slower, so that way you can be uniform in your shelving and your jars, and you don't waste, and you've got big ones, you know, little jars in big shelves. So let me just show you what we've got ready to make some shelving. There's a few red tops in there, mainly these. So we'll make this, we'll tap this cupboard out and we'll make this a jar of those. Spare jars in there. Yeah, that's fine. We've got jars in there. Need sorting out. You always, because they don't come in the same measure. Some in there. What we got in there? Nothing much in there. We've got some big ones in there waiting to go like that. And we've got some over here. We've got some in there, but that's got liquid. That was a bit of an overflow cupboard, that was. This one, I like to keep just the yellow ones in there so you know what you've got. So it's a good way of knowing then when you build your shelves, you make maximum use of your space. That shelf is for only those jars. I tend to use the big ones on top because there's plenty of room to go above. Another big one here, and as we come down to eye level, we put the most popular sizes, and then as we go down to the bottom, we go back to, so it's spacing the shelves. So I'm planning on making shelves, and rather than make the shelves and fit things on it, I'll make a shelf just to fit those when I come to measure the spacing and the gapping in between. And they do swallow a bit because these are 2 jars deep, aren't they? And the smaller ones are 3 jars deep, so it can be quite a bit. But I don't like them. I prefer just 2 jars. 1 jar behind. The jar in front and the jar behind is the double of it. But the amount of stuff that comes in, I don't. So I better get in touch with my supplier, my nuts and bolts man. This has been since I've converted to this idea, what's on the shelf has been a lot easier to find. But I haven't got round to sorting these yet. So there's quite a bit of sorting out to do. But anyway, I'm planning some new shelves. Make sure I've got the jars to fit the shelves so I know to measure them so they fit just enough room to get them out, because you've got to turn them, haven't you? So just enough room so they go in and out. It's not wasting a shelf, is it? So, so there's a shelf making video to come sometime in the future. Well, I meant to come in here and tell you that I was efficient with my space, but look, it turns out that's wasted space. This I could have brought this down a bit, got a few more in. That's the correct sort of spacing for your jar. Make your shelving fit your jars. Again, this could have come down slightly and that could have come down slightly. I don't really know what I was doing. The big one's up above, look. So if you want to put a narrow jar, a shelf in here for whatever reason, I think it's to do with this box, then you make sure you got the jars to fit it. You try and make what you have fit. Now I don't know why I changed here, maybe that's all the wood I had, but again, look, wasted space above here. I could have brought this down, I could have had an extra shelf in that wall. I could have been way more efficient with my space, couldn't I? Oh, I tell you what drove this. I had to get over that lamp, so it's gone to this height. So really, I should drop that down there, really, and rebuild it. Maybe I should rethink these shelves again here. I've got a lot of space not used. Well, not very efficient, and of course the big ones go above, so I could probably get quite a bit more in this wall if I was to rethink about it and bring these down, cut them spaces. I don't know why I've put them there. I've got a better example next door. This is a slightly better example. I had these jars. I had quite a lot of them. So I built the shelving to fit the jars. Yeah, that's what I did with these. So that fitted, and that's how I measured these. I haven't wasted any space in those 3 spaces. Not that I had much to waste, but I made the shelf fit my container. Then the red ones ended, and we're on these now, aren't we? So yeah, you have to a certain degree, when you're making your shelving, you have to make your shelves fit your containers, not just make shelves at a standard height and then put your containers in, because you're wasting too much space. We did a slightly better job here, didn't we? There's less space wasted here. Big jars at the bottom, another big jar. These are slightly smaller. Made a shelf there to get the height I wanted. Obviously you can't put a big jar in there, but I had enough little jars to be able to go and fill that space. So make your shelves, when you're making them, make them fit what you're going to put on there. Don't just say, well, they're going to be 6 or 10 inches, or if that's the biggest space you've got, don't make them all that big, because you can also make a shelf in between yourself space. Give yourself one more shelf, one more lift, be more efficient. So the shelves in this room, I think, need revisiting, because it's not in your main workshop room. I only keep the spares, doubles of, what you've got plenty of. You bring them in here as the stores. So I only aim to store full jars, but obviously over the time I've been coming along and taking ones out of them. They're pretty much full, aren't they? There's a few there where they could go to a smaller jar. Move and shift them about, you know what I mean? Be more efficient. But now I'm looking at these shelves, I could be way more efficient, couldn't I? We'll have to have a look. I wonder why. There'll be a reason somewhere. Well, because the light is here on that one, and the control box and the electrics are there, so that's determined where that shelf went. There is a big electric box here which is hiding, so we're going to put the rest of the gauges in here and make that. I've been banging on about that for ages. But you see here, there's plenty of room. We could almost squeeze another shelf in there, couldn't we? Another row of jars. Close that space up, close this space up, close that space up. Be more efficient. You could probably squeeze another shelf in there, couldn't you? We'll have to look at that. And definitely here. I don't know what was going on here, but that could come down, couldn't it? We could save space there. And we could definitely save space there, bring that down, almost get another shelf just in there on its own. We'll have to look at that. Everything's always evolving and moving and changing, isn't it, in your sheds? Always. Say, having done this, it was quite a lot of effort, time consuming and fiddly, but having done this, I'm so pleased with being able to just pick what I want, find the name of the shelf, shelf A, shelf B, shelf C, and shelf 4. So A4 is shelf A, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that should be in A4. But obviously as time goes along and you go in and you're doing the job and you pick a jar out, and you must put your jars back where you found them. You must. But I'm not very good at that, am I? But anyway, gives you an idea, doesn't it, if you're planning on making some shelves.